All right. So today's workshop is focused on what's next. If this is your first workshop with me, I pack in a lot of information. This is not your typical free workshop. It has a lot of information, and I would say, like, very valuable, the same as one that is paid. And if you've joined me for other ones, you already know that there's so much that's shared, and I've actually changed a lot of some of the things I always kind of mention in my presentations because I think that's very helpful. So today I wanted to talk about um, career astrology through the lens of what's next because there's just a lot going on right now that is out of our control. Earlier this year, or rather late last year, my prediction, my forecast for 2025 was one that was like, it's all about faith. It's all about trust. There's going to be a lot of things that are out of our control. And wow, really, it's like 8 months in, and there's definitely been so many examples of things that are out of our control, the need to let go of the plans we had for ourselves. And not because they weren't right or they weren't good, but there's something else waiting for us. And so I'm going to share today how astrology can help really expand your field of vision of what is possible for you. So we've done our grounding meditation. I'll share a little bit about myself, and then I'll talk about like your talents and your skills so that you can start to realize kind of like how it can apply to different roles and industries and career paths. We're going to talk about those different types of career paths, and we're going to talk about kind of like should you stay in a corporate job or do a 9 to 5 or maybe both. And then if we have time, I'll answer some questions. And if you have questions along the way, like feel free to drop into the chat and I will get to the question whenever I can. So, to share a little bit more about myself and my career journey, I think is really important, is that I've had a very non-linear career journey for someone who thought that they were just going to do this one thing, and I didn't think past that. I went to Boston University. I studied communications, specifically public relations. I minored in East Asian studies, and when I graduated, I ironically did exactly all of those things. I worked in Asia for most of my 20s. Um, I worked for a hotel group. I worked for like a PR company, and like everything looked great on paper. It was right at the start of the social media like boom, so really like it was so easy to find a job, and for what I was skilled in, like it felt like it was just like a limitless supply of jobs. But as I moved through my 20s, I just started to realize that like my values what kind of like what my values were emerging, what I was starting to understand, like really didn't match up to my job. And it started to feel quite empty. Everything looked good on paper, but everything felt kind of like a little bit off. And I really wasn't sure about the impact that I was making. And so towards my late 20s, I went through kind of my Saturn return, which really is a pivotal time in change and growth, which happens in your mid to late 50s and mid to late 80s. Um, and for me, it was really just about upgrading my belief systems, changing the way I view success. And through that process of exploration, I began to look towards astrology, meditation, yoga, mindfulness to help me find the answers. And astrology has really been part of my journey in understanding myself, my values, what I want, and really kind of expanding what I believe is possible for myself. And it's one of the reasons why I started this business 6, 7 years ago. And it is also the reason why I've chosen to focus on astrology. One quick rewind when I moved back to the US from my job in Shanghai with my Saturn return. I moved back home. I lived at home. I started an e-commerce business with my friends. Like it was really kind of like a wild adventure. That was like about 10 years ago. And through kind of like all the different changes and through astrology, I've really found something that I feel quite passionate about. And so every workshop, every report, every reading that I do is to really help you feel seen and expansive. Okay, so I wanted to start off with some astrology definitions as we move through our session today, just so we're all on the same page. So, a planet is like what is happening, and to make it easy, like even points, and luminaries, like the sun or the moon, and a point like the North Node. We're just going to refer to them as like planets. Like what is happening? The sign tells you how it's happening. And then the house is where it is happening. So I'm not covering, your sun, your moon, your rising. It's kind of like not even, I should stop calling it like a 101. It's like a 201 or a 301. So again, the planet is what is happening, the sign is how it's happening, and the house is where it is happening. So first up, we're going to talk about talents. Venus is a planet that most people connect like love and relationships to, but actually, it is a very multifaceted planet. It tells you about your natural gifts and talents and things that you just gravitate towards and what people like kind of like how you magnetize and attract people and things. It's about your values, it's about your money mindset, your money values, and people that you really love to connect with. Time and time again, when I tell people about like their Venus placement in readings, I'm always like, this is like kind of like your special like gift and talent, but also these are people you love to hang out with. Like if your Venus is in Capricorn, you're probably attracted to people who are more business oriented, really focused on their careers, kind of a little bit serious. Like, and these are also people that you're romantically interested as well. And it is also kind of like the things that you are good at. So when you are looking at your free report, um, just look at the chart properties and you'll see your Venus sign. All right, make sure that you know what sign it's in. And here's like a list of like characteristics of that sign. So let's say you have Venus in Libra. You are a power networker. This is something that people come to you. If you have a Venus in Libra, people are always asking you like, hey, I'm looking for a photographer. Like who should I invite to this thing? Or you're like also someone who's like always hosting parties or get-togethers or networking events. Like you always know someone to connect someone else with. So one of your natural skills and talents is to be the connector. Also, this sign is very diplomatic. They're very stylish. People might come to you asking like, where did you get this? Where did you buy this? Where did you go? And also like, hey, like I have to have a hard conversation with someone, or can you be there and kind of facilitate this hard conversation? So that's an example. Another example is, let's say your Venus is in Pisces. That means you're very artistic, very imaginative, very creative, and people really come to you because like you kind of have almost like an otherworldly perspective. I also like to describe that like your Venus placement is also kind of like where you enjoy like spending money too, and what you feel like is important, especially like in relationships. So like a Venus in Pisces, like they want to feel a bit of like freedom. They want to be feeling like they can explore and be creative. A Venus in Libra, like they value connection. They like want to be social. They like want a partner, whether it's a business partner or like a romantic partner, to understand that their network, the people that they are connected with, are very, very important. So you can think about this as these are some of the skills that you have, that people kind of like gravitate towards you for. Okay, let's see what type of Venus in Aries. Ooh, I love that. So Venus in Aries means that you're a natural leader. Even if you don't have Aries like showing up in any other area of your chart, um, like people just are like, oh, like I feel like this person's creative, can take in a lot of like leadership, is very creative, has like a vision. So that's something to keep in mind of, let's say, Elizabeth, Venus in Virgo, very organized, very reliable. Venus in Sagittarius, like very optimistic. Sagittariuses are optimistic. They're funny. They also let's oh sorry, this chat is moving. Know a lot. So Stephanie, like you have like a wealth of and a depth of just like expertise and a lot of different things, which is ironic because Sagittarius is a sign that knows so much, but at the same time is always dealing with imposter syndrome. There's like, I don't know anything, but really like they probably know the most in the room. Oh, I love to see that people have lots of Aries in their chart. Lots of things have been changing for you over the last few years. Venus in Cancer. So any water sign, so let's say Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, if you have a Venus in a water sign, that means you're naturally very intuitive, probably empathic. So people will probably come to you with like their problems. They're probably like, oh, like I'm feeling this way or that way. Like you're just very intuitive. You know what to say, very creative as well. And the Venus in Capricorn, like I said, very structured, very organized, very business oriented. Venus in Scorpio, conjunct Pluto. Venus in Scorpio is one that is very magnetic. They're very detail oriented. They kind of they're just like very good like consultants. They always know kind of like what needs to be fixed, like what's the truth that needs to be told. But the important thing about any Venus placement, whether it's a sun, a north node, like a Venus, is that you must go to the places where people appreciate you and you feel seen. Otherwise, like people just resent you. Venus in Taurus for Heather. So Venus in Taurus has like excellent taste, discerning because Taurus is a sign that's related to like beauty. It's related to like luxury, things like you can feel, you can touch. It's related to like food and beverage of the earth, like of this land, of the body. So a Venus in Taurus is one that is practical. It's like risk adverse, but it's also like very reliable and very direct. Savannah says, I feel everyone's feelings. It's a blessing and a curse. I think you had said that yes, the Cancer. Yes, you can feel a lot. People are always like, you boys know how to make me feel better. You're like, oh my gosh. Okay, great, Heather. I'm glad that makes more sense. Yeah, there's only so much I can put on the screen. So I want everybody to pause right now and to get out your handy dandy notebook or your notes app and just start to write about like your Venus placement, Venus in Aries, Venus in Capricorn, Venus in Virgo, and kind of just you see kind of like the words associated like with that sign and just start to write and talk about like what are some of the examples if someone was like, oh, like I really loved like this take you had or like what your friends say about you, what coworkers, people you've worked with, and just start to write about like things that have happened in the past, like memories, and also how you feel about your Venus placement, and perhaps even extrapolating that like that even more, and thinking like, okay, like like Alice only has a couple words on the screen, but like how else do I define and how else can I extend the definition of my Venus in Virgo or my Venus in Libra? So I just want you to take some time here because these are your talents. These are the things that like make you really magnetic. People naturally come to you for. So as you start to think about like you can also start to attach without us like going farther in the presentation as well as what I'll say about different job paths and career paths, you can start to think about okay, what types of jobs are out there for someone like this? Like a Venus in Leo is is someone who's very empowering, good at sales and marketing, very expressive, very creative. So they would be a great coach. They would be a great sales leader, someone in marketing. Like just because, any type of fire sign, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius is like very dynamic, and very like extroverted. So take some time, especially if you just joined the workshop. We're on our Venus placement. This is about talents. And the reason why I am making everybody do this like journaling exercise is so you can start feel a little bit more expansive of like, like these are things that I'm good at. Like people have mentioned this or I've never thought about this. Like, what else could I be doing? Because we're truly entering a very, like, we're in it right now, like in the thick of this unknown territory. I really think that when we like look back, like this year will be a year of like unprecedented like layoffs and job changes, and like really have only seen like a bit of it. And I'll share more with like the mini forecast I have at the end. Like more is coming, and with like AI, like it's just going to make us more human. So we want to really know ourselves so that we can start to figure out what are the different areas we're interested in, that intersectionality that makes us special, unique, and human, and how to weave that together for an intentional life and like how you spend like your quote unquote 9 to 5, because what we're being asked to right now, this like transformation, transmutation process, is to be very intentional about the work that we do. It's no longer kind of like very like I do this, then I do this, then it's like kind of like a little bit all over the place. Like you have to make your own space for yourself. You have to be able to describe like how you see things differently, how you are creative, how you are imaginative, and like the different areas that you're interested in, like how that's a strength. Okay, let's see. More friends are coming. Let me let you in. Okay. Yenny says, this is where I struggle the most. Venus, Aries, direct leader. It feels too abstract and generic to me. So this is the journaling like exercise. Like the Venus in Aries is one that, people like really want leadership. They see you for leadership. It's also one that has like a very specific vision. Aries is a sign that deals with like boundaries and identity. So the more that you dig into who you are, what you find important, the more that your Venus in Aries will start to make a little bit more sense. It's a very much so an energy of like ask for like like forgiveness. Like do the thing and then not for don't ask for permission, just ask for forgiveness. All right. So just finish up your thought here. And if you just joined, we are focused on Venus. This is about talents, natural gifts. We're just doing a journaling exercise to expand upon like what you see on the slide here. Yeah, Venus in Pisces. Lovely, Trisha. Dana, as a Sag with a Venus in Capricorn, I've always resented this as being too confined and boring, but it is also very much so a superpower. I know it's like every time I look at people's charts, there's always like about two, on average, two or three dominant energies. Um, and at times it can feel very like you're being pulled in many directions, and like really that's just life. That's just life. Savannah says, I find it difficult to identify what I'm good on my own. Yeah, it takes time. It really takes time, and I think the things that you're good at, you're just naturally like you're not very aware of. You feel like, oh, like I can always do better because it just comes easily to you. Like as an example, I have Venus in Gemini. So I majored in communications, like I worked in comms, like now like I'm constantly communicating, whether it's through readings or like through workshops like this. And I always am just like, am I a good communicator? Like, am I a good writer? Like I always like question myself. But people are like, yes, yes, you are. But there's always like kind of growth, right? Trisha says, I've always been a natural creative but I've struggled with how to find success in this, trying to monetize my creativity, killing the yes, it's a hard cycle when you are creative, but it's finding the right balance and being true to yourself. Oftentimes, when we feel we have to sacrifice like who we are, it is because we haven't made peace with the part of us that wants like more freedom, that wants to do things differently. And when we start to really lean into what we want instead of what we don't want, a lot of things start to shift, because really, the external world is really just a reflection of the internal world. And even like I have to remind myself every single day, because if I get into a bad mood, if I get into like a negative thought spiral, then everything around me kind of reflects that. But when I lift myself up, like things like really drastically change. All right. So let's talk about the North Node. Everybody knows I love talking about the North Node. If you've been to a workshop or if you've been viewing my content, I think it's really important. It's in some ways like more important to focus on initially than the traditional midheaven, which gives you career guidance, as well as the 10th house, because the North Node is talking about like life lessons. It's like kind of like destiny. It's like where you can find your zone of genius. To embody your North Node sign can be very challenging if that sign is not present in any other area of your chart. But it is truly when you figure out this placement, when you kind of really dive into it, explore the sign that you have your north node in, it starts to really open up a lot of realities, a lot of doors for you. And that is my intention for when you come to me, whether it's like you see like a reel or you have your free report or whatever it may be, that you start to see that there are many different paths available to you. And at any one given time, because of your past, your experiences, your habits, and what's present in the environment, there's a higher percentage that you're going to be going in one direction or two directions. Like when people are talking in this space about timeline, like jumping or like kind of like up leveling, this is what they're talking about, the different things available to you. And like it's almost like when we're talking about like enneagram, there's like when a number is like at its like highest and when it's at its lowest. There's just so many different things available to you. And you can find your north node in the chart properties of your free or expanded report. And those with the expanded report, you have your south node, but the free one, I don't have that up in the chart properties yet, but don't worry, I'll get there. So the South Node is about past lives, it's karma, it's mastered skills. If you are feeling stuck in a job, if you are feeling like you are in a never-ending fucking karmic loop in your job, in your relationship, like in whatever part of your life you feel like I just feel like I'm just spinning my wheels. I'm just still here. It is the South Node, and I had some really great conversations with clients and friends this week, so I think that'll probably be one of my next workshops about how to get unstuck and really kind of like start on like a different path, a new path. So if you are feeling stuck in a job, like you always get these types of jobs, these types of opportunities, or you always date these types of people, it is probably because there is a pattern of like love action, of like a belief system that is outdated, that is a little bit too much in your south node and not enough in your north node or the combination of the two. So you don't leave your south node completely behind in this life, but it is supposed to help you move like towards your north node. I like to describe the north node really as the embodiment like of your higher self. Like where you're going in this lifetime, where you're going to feel like a lot of growth, a lot of expansion, and a lot of fulfillment. Okay, let me pop into the chat to see any questions we have. All right. Jasmine says, how does the south node work when it is conjunct Jupiter in the same sign as Jupiter and Venus? Um, um, so I would say that so Jasmine's question really is like because the South Node we're supposed to like release things, and because she has like Jupiter, which is a planet of like blessings, of opportunity, and then Venus is one about like values, like it's much more nuanced and like this is like kind of like a different like part of astrology that I don't really cover as much during these like free workshops. It's like very a lot of information. But Jasmine, for you, it's very nuanced. So there's like different parts of your South Node sign that you are like releasing, but also like very much so like embodying to kind of get to where you want to go. It's really just kind of like picking and choosing. And there's probably a couple different characteristics that you lean too heavily on that you can release so you can make space for kind of like your North Node to come in. I wouldn't say like it's a bad thing. It's just something that, you just have to be aware of. Okay, so let's do an example for like the North Node and the South Node. So right now, like collectively, the North Node is in Pisces and the South Node is in Virgo. If you have this placement or if it's flipped, so if you have the first one, that means you are going through a nodal return. You are approximately 36, 37 years old. And if it is reversed, I believe you're about about like 10 years younger from like one end of the spectrum, so around like probably 27, 28, something like that, and that's a reverse nodal return. So a nodal return is like your embodiment. It's like a process of embodiment, of like really embodying your north node placement and letting go of your south node. When it's reversed, you're kind of learning like the best ways to embody your North Node while kind of like letting go of things that you've done in the past that hasn't been helpful. So with the North Node in Pisces, in this lifetime, you are meant to be more intuitive, more artistic, like finding more flow and ease and learning how to trust. Now, we're all learning these lessons this year because the North Node is in Pisces, the South Node is in Virgo, eclipse season. So, March and September of this year bring about a lot more of these lessons where we acutely feel it as a collective. And if you have your North or South Node like in like Pisces or Virgo, like you'll feel it a lot more. But as like an individual, you're learning how to just be more creative, and you're very much so used to South Node things of being like very detail oriented, maybe being in project management roles, product manager roles, like kind of fixing everything in everyone's life and like kind of like over giving and serving like other people, but you're kind of letting that go, like kind of like escaping from being in the background, being in operations behind the scenes, and kind of stepping onto the stage, if you will. So it requires you to do things that are much more creative, but still leveraging your past skills that are like very like structured. Okay. Yes, Habiba, like that's the other direction with the North Node in Virgo. It's all math. I can't always do math so quickly. So with the North Node in Aries, South Node in Libra, you just finished your nodal return, and so that could have been like a pretty challenging time around like understanding like leadership and boundaries and um like letting go of toxic relationships. Okay. So, how does the North Node manifest in your life? So, the North Node gives you a lot of ideas around like what's available to you in terms of jobs and industries, but it's not always going to manifest in something that you do. So, as an example, in like my group of girlfriends from college, like most of us have our North Node in Pisces and South Node in Virgo. Obviously, in these placements, like they're all in like different houses for us, and like like it manifests differently, but I'm the only one in our 14 like 14 people in our group that has done something that is like directly related to like spirituality, which Pisces represents. And like we all work in creative spaces, we all work in like PR and like advertising. That's like how we all met each other in school. So we all have an aspect of like being very organized, like we like to do things a certain way, where we like are always like fixing things and like management roles, like it's always been very much so the case. We're all kind of very similar in that way, and some of us have done more creative things than others, but this is the year, next year too, that I know that a lot of things will be changing for them. But it could look like a career and job. So you're working in that job, or you have a business that directly relates to your North Node, or it's like lessons in character development. You're embodying the characteristics of like finding more trust and faith in your everyday life, believing in yourself, and knowing that maybe logic is not always going to be the way out, the way through a problem or through a challenging moment, but it's like just feeling the emotions and like acknowledging like, hey, this is a tough time, but I'm going to make it through, even though nothing makes sense. So these are the two ways I see that it can like really manifest. And so for those who are just like, oh, I don't know, like my South Node, because you have like the free report, here are the opposite signs. So let's say you have your North Node in Sagittarius, that means your South Node is in Gemini. Yes, it's not in the free report. I need to get like the engineering team to like add that in among many other things, but I always tell you what it is like in the workshop. So you can find it here. Okay. Alyona says, what if my North Node is in the same as my Venus? Oh, that's good. So like your natural like gifts and talents, you know, like things you gravitate towards is also kind of like where you're going in this lifetime. I would just focus like later on when I get to the houses portion that you pay attention to if the North Node and the Venus is in like the same house. Okay. Teal says, with my North Node in Pisces, second house, still leaning into my artistic side again, was a singer, songwriter, poet in my 20s, went away to the South Node running businesses. So marrying the two by launching a global luxe party series. I love that. But it still feels businessy as I'm raising my first investment. Might feel more North Node once I start to produce it. Well, I would say like for sure, it's like you're like bringing these two together, so that's like really wonderful. It's like how I bring like I also have my North Node in Pisces and my South Node in Virgo, so when I do these types of workshops, when I do my readings, it's a very practical grounded application of astrology. I always give a plan of action, as you can see. Like I'm very organized with my presentation. Like some you guys, sometimes like I'm on like a free workshop for 2 hours, and I'm just like, can we just move it along? Like they literally talk about their story for like a half hour or like 40 minutes, and I'm just like, please, can we move it along? So my South Node in Virgo is very much so like, okay, let's get it going, we're on a schedule here. I definitely think that once you start working on it, and like you'll see it, like it's very much so an embodiment of your North Node and your South Node. All right. Yeah, so your North Node is in Pisces, that means your South Node is in Virgo. Yes, and if your North Node is in Scorpio, yes, the South Node is in Taurus. Making sure everybody knows there's Aliona. Oh my God, Alice, you knew it. I have the same sign at the same house in both North Node and Venus. Yeah, usually it should be, but because I use Placidus, it could kind of change a little bit, you know? Um, so that's good. I feel like you just need to really kind of like believe in yourself so that you can really let your Venus placement help you move forward. Angela says, okay, it's clicking for me. Aquarius North South Node, Leo North Node. The Leo North Node is a special one, Angela. People, my clients always feel like it's very uncomfortable because you're supposed to be in the spotlight. He says North Node and Moon exactly conjunct in Aries. Ooh, yes. You always got to keep moving, got to keep doing things. So if your Moon sign and your North Node are the same, that means you need to follow your heart. Heart-led, heart-inspired living. Okay, so let's talk about your placements. If you joined my workshop before, I've changed them. I've changed them so they can feel expansive, especially with this workshop. So we're going to talk about fire signs. So North Node in a fire sign. This is kind of like what you're learning, what you need to like embody. So a North Node in Aries is moving more towards leadership, understanding their boundaries, and really being independent, knowing you can do things like by yourself. So as I go through each of the signs, you can also start to do a little bit of journaling in figuring out like, okay, so Alice says like the North Node is about like my North Node in Aries is about leadership. Like in what ways do I feel comfortable in stepping into that like space? In what ways have I been struggling? And what types of roles and jobs and industries that would require me to embody more of these things or to be this way? Also like I'll have more examples later of like roles and industries and stuff like that, but I want you to feel a little bit more expansive and not like limited by like, oh, like Alice is saying I could only do X, Y, and Z. There's a lot of different ways that your North Node can manifest. And as always, the disclaimer is astrology is very nuanced. Your chart is very complex. I break it down in this way so it's a little bit more bite-sized, but no one placement like sun, North Node, midheaven is going to give you a complete understanding of what's going to be like the best job or business to start. But I believe that the North Node really opens things up and gets you to start thinking and connecting with your intuition. So you're like, I've always thought about like doing something more creative, or I've always wanted to like go back to school and I'm not sure like what that would look like. Like this is like an opportunity for you to feel very expansive and to feel very optimistic about what's available to you. So, with the North Node in Leo, it is to stand in the spotlight, to feel very confident in your own skin, and to honestly be a little bit more selfish. North Node in Sagittarius is to explore and to focus on the bigger picture and to be very like focused on the philosophy of like how you're living and how you're working. A North Node in Sagittarius is one that usually comes from like a smaller family, a very tight family in a small town, and like they're meant to kind of like travel and like just like live a big life that's like seems really different from like their family and their friends and the way that they grew up. Okay, moving on to earth signs. A north node in Taurus is learning how to cultivate stability from within, knowing that they can do things on their own. Traditionally speaking, I've seen that, you know, and what people have told me, like what they always see when they do like a Google search is like, oh, a north node is like in Taurus is always like, you should just stay in a job. And like, that's the best thing to do. It is a sign that is very risk adverse, but as we change as human beings, the definitions of these signs slightly change as well. So I always say, like the Northern and Taurus, it doesn't mean that you're not going to start a business, you're not going to do your own thing, just because, like, I do believe, like, to a certain extent, we can all have our own thing. It could be a side hustle. It doesn't have to be like a startup in what we perceive it to be, what the media wants to shape it to be, like, oh, like venture capital, like you have a board of directors, like you have to do aggressive growth. Like it could look like a lot of different things. And I think that's really, really important to mention. Like entrepreneurship, being a business owner, like can look like many different things and isn't always what's presented to us on social media and like in the news. So that's something that I thought was really important to share. A North Node in Virgo is adding in more structure and routines into their life so that this building of consistency, because, you know, if you have a South Node in Pisces, you're probably showing up late a lot of the time and kind of like head in the clouds. Your North Node in Virgo is like pushing you to be like more organized and like more consistent in how you make your dreams, your ideas, your imagination grounded into reality. North Node in Capricorn, this one feels tricky because a lot of times a Northern and Capricorn will be like, oh, so I'm just supposed to do this one thing, but I have so many different ideas and I can't choose. It's really about just doing the thing that's right now because a Northern and Capricorn is building their empire. And sometimes it can be hard because they're always thinking about everybody else and caring for everyone else. But it's like you must build something that you care about and something of value, and you're going to be building time and time again. Like I see it as very much so a Northern and Capricorn as having like a holding company and many different like different companies that are like within it and throughout their lifetime. Okay. Habiba, Southern and Pisces. I'm always late. It's my self-sabotage. Yes. Heather, what is my Northern Gemini in the seventh house? I'm like, I haven't gotten to the air signs like yet, but I will. Don't worry. Um, Jacinta says, hearing you explain all this also helps me understand to connect things and understand the report. Yes, that's why I recommend you get the expanded report. I'm really glad you did that. It really, really helps. Okay, don't worry. I'm gonna go through houses today. If you've been to my other presentations, I haven't always been able to get through houses, but we're gonna get it all in today. Okay. Wait, did I cover all of them? Yes, I did. Air signs. So, North Node in Gemini. This is about connection. This is about community because a Northern Gemini is used to kind of running away from their problems. They are kind of like it's very common what I see is like a south node in Sagittarius, so with a northern in Gemini that you grew up like abroad or traveling a lot or just kind of like it was a little bit more free um and less like rooted, but in this lifetime you're learning how to root and build local community and not just to kind of like keep on restarting and moving to a new place. And it's really about like application and sharing your knowledge in practical bite-sized ways because you're naturally already someone who's very much so a deep thinker. So it's like, how do you share your stuff in a way that more people can understand and connect? It's like working in like news, being an influencer, a content creator, maybe a community like organizer, an activist. A North Node in Libra. This one's a fun one because this type of person is usually very independent, refuses to do things like on their like own and like refuses to do things with others. And in this lifetime, they're learning that the right relationships are very, very powerful and teamwork is the most like important thing that they are learning, that relationships, connections, relying on others is going to be a way to feel very expansive in their role. So I think that someone had a question about the North Node in Gemini in the seventh house. Yes, Heather. So you're actually learning a lot of these things because it's in the seventh house. This is ruled by Libra, so you're learning that um like working with others is going to be a lot better. And it could also be like, let's say you're sharing things about like relationships, about like how people can connect better like to one another, like communication, interpersonal relationships, stuff like that. A Northern Aquarius is one that is always fighting for freedom, for liberation, for authenticity, innovation, and doing things in their own quirky way. They're most likely fighting for rights for themselves or for a group of people. And we're all feeling a little bit more like this because Pluto's in Aquarius and things are breaking down, very much so like in the United States and other parts of the world, like the old ways of doing things can no longer stay, and we're kind of like releasing and pushing forward and making sure that things are more equitable. So in Northern Aquarius is like, be your weird self. Okay, finally we have water signs. North Node in Cancer, more work-life balance, focusing on healing and really understanding like how your emotions kind of really affect you. That's like really for all North Node water signs. And honestly, with the North Node in Cancer, it's like a bigger focus on like family because you've worked a lot in other lifetimes with a South Node in Capricorn. So it's like, how can you find better work life balance? How can you enjoy yourself more? How can you care for others? Working on building your familial relationships, whether it's the family you're born into or your chosen family. It can feel a little challenging because you're just like, I want to do stuff for myself. Like, I want to do my own thing. But time and time again, you're getting the lesson of like, no, like, care for your family, care for your community. North Node in Scorpio. This is about emotional regulation, intuition development, and dealing with change, embracing change. Scorpio is a sign that's very transformative. It is also one that desires and requires a lot of intimacy and vulnerability, but at times it's hard for that person with a Scorpio placement to give it. So with the North Node in Scorpio, you're learning to just like really understand that you like really see the truth and you're very intuitive. You just like really know things. So how can you develop and cultivate these characteristics, these skills? Then the Northern and Pisces have spoken a bunch about it already. Really inner artist activation and like flow state activation as well. Kind of like where is more like go to the places where there's more flow, where the energy is flowing better than like a place where you're just like forcing and making things happen. And I really believe that's a really great lesson for all of us, especially with the Northern and Pisces. And that's our collective lesson. Where in your life do you feel like you're pushing so hard, wanting to make something happen, but you get roadblock after roadblock after roadblock? It could mean that it's not now, maybe later. It's not that it's not the right path. It's like kind of taking another way to get to where you want to go, where you want to be, but not being so rigid of like it has to look like this way, it has to be this way. Okay, let's see. North Node in Scorpio in the second house, North Node in Pisces. Um, yes. So like this is something that you're learning in this lifetime. It's a lot of times the North Node like doesn't make sense, but it just takes time for you to get to know like how does it manifest in your life specifically and how it relates to other placements in your chart. Sometimes people will tell me like I don't really relate like to my North Node because there's like other parts of your chart that maybe you might be like weighing a little bit more heavily, influencing you a little bit more, but at the very least, like these are going to be lessons that you are learning. And anytime you activate your intuition, listen to that innate knowing, that innate wisdom, it is going to be like so helpful. All right. So take a moment now to just journal like really quickly about your placement, about like what types of jobs might be available, what types of industries and roles before I kind of jump into the list that I have for you. No, not necessarily, Habiba. She's asking, like, I thought the Norther kicks in after your Saturn return. Um, No, because like your north node, your nodal return happens like around every 18 to 19 years. Your Saturn return happens every like 29 years or so. And then your nodal return happens like every like 18 years. So it's like 18, 36, and like so forth. But no, it could like get activated because of some other transit. It really just depends on your placements. You may feel ready to step into more of like your north node sign because you've gone through a big maturity because the Saturn return is about maturing, it's about growth, it's about like putting in the hard work and about discipline. And from that, you could be like, oh, like start to like really understand like what am I supposed to be doing in this lifetime. And Saturn as a planet gives you some insights around like your career as well. And Norma trying to figure out my Northern Aries with the leadership aspect. I know it can feel very uncomfortable because you're very much so used to working with others, kind of like like collating, collecting everyone else's opinions, finding harmony, and kind of like not really shaking the boat. To be someone with a Northern Aries or Aries placements in general, it means that you are kind of like, you know, the nail that sticks up, the squeaky wheel. Also, my North Node is in Virgo. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that for you sounds very, very correct. All right. So, finish up your thought here about like potential jobs and industries. I'm going to pull up this slide that has a lot of different jobs and industries that you could potentially get into. Teresa, that's a good way to interpret it. It's like lead yourself. Don't let other people lead you. Don't let external circumstances and opinions affect like how you should live your life. Yes, we're doing the North Node. Yes, the North Node. The all of these like can apply to all the other placements, but we're focusing on the North Node right now. You could be like, "Oh, like my son is in Libra and I really do like relate to it." It makes sense because from a career perspective, your sun sign tells you like how you can really shine and how you can really feel like fulfilled and kind of lit up at work. So like I said, astrology, your birth chart is like very nuanced. It's almost like different weights of like, oh, this the north node is going to be a little bit more important right now, or like in this situation focus more on like your sun sign or your moon sign. There's a lot of different levers. All right, I still have a bit more information that probably I'm going to go over a little bit. Okay. Okay, character development. So these are some characteristics that you are working towards embodying and feeling more comfortable with. So, if your North Node is in Taurus, you're working on being more practical, being more direct, more reliable. If your North Node is in Sagittarius, kind of like being more of a deep thinker, a global citizen, a North Node in Virgo, being more solutions oriented, focusing on the details, being very aware and focused on consistency and your rituals and routines. I thought this was like a fun way of kind of understanding, like, okay, so my character development right now in my life, if you were an actor, this is or like kind of like, like a character on a show. This is like kind of like your storyline, like your arc, you're like working towards like these characteristics. Okay, so let's talk about the houses. So you can see in your birth chart, you have all 12 houses represented. They start right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way up to 12. And again, remember when I went over earlier, like the planet, the sign, and the house is telling you where it's happening. So while I gave you some examples of your north node of like these are things that you're embodying, the house can give you some insights to where this is going to be happening, what industries, in what capacity, in like what roles maybe. So you want to be able to kind of pinpoint like what house it's in, and you'll be able to see it in your chart properties. But I wanted to give like a quick, like basic, like, hey, 101, this is what a birth chart looks like. You see it in your free or expanded report. And the houses go like counterclockwise this way, starting right over here. And each house is ruled by a specific sign. So I want you to take note of the sign because it's going to help you. So let's say you have a north node in Gemini in the seventh house. So the two signs that are going to be important for you as you kind of figure and explore what types of jobs and businesses are going to be good for you to kind of like explore and be curious about. It's going to be Gemini because your north node is in Gemini, but because it's in the seventh house, there's a Libra element to it as well. Working with people, working in talent, working in human resources, working in a very collaborative way, could also be working in fashion, um, something related to like beauty, that type of stuff. So you see on the next slide, there will be kind of like a list of all the houses and kind of like the themes in each of the houses. So in the second house, let's say your north node is in the second house. That means like you are learning to also kind of like be like working on like your money mindset. It could also mean that you are working on or working in the industry that is like Taurus related. Because remember, second house, Taurus. It could be food and beverage. It could be something related to real estate, the home, luxury goods, um, like things related to help people with their finances, their self-worth, expansion of money, abundance, that type of stuff. Got lots of wows and woes. Dina says, wow, my north is in Taurus in the 10th house with a Venus in Capricorn. That's like a lot of like biz start a business energy. Northward Scorpio in the second house. Ah, that's even more nuanced, because like that means your south node is in Taurus in the eighth house. So it's when you get your report, you'll see it, your expanded report, because I know you ordered it like earlier today. Like it's a very nuanced approach. So things are not going to be so kind of like I like you go in one separate direction. It's going to be a subtle shift. It could be a role change, it could be an industry change, or like even a mindset shift. Okay. No wonder why it's not so obvious. Yes. Yes, yes. Okay. Leona says I have Aries in the 10th house all across my chart. I really want to leave, but the truth is that I only make first steps in my career. Really struggle with this as I try to work well and don't show up, but keep annoying my managers. If you have like Aries in the 10th house, like you have to you probably just don't have enough autonomy in your role. You should be in much like higher leadership position or like working as an individual contributor so that you can like do the things you want to do. Um because like it can be very challenging. And you'll see later on I'll talk about like the entrepreneurial placements. Dana says, love to hear it. I've always wanted to start my own business, but I feel I have so many creative ideas. I never know where to start. Very, very Aryan. Aries likes to start things, has a hard time completing and executing. So you need to find somebody to kind of, and like body doubling to like work alongside with you or to hire people to help you execute. The body doubling is like a term for people with ADHD. They need someone to just be next to them while they do tasks that are like a little bit challenging for them. Okay, so again, planet, what is happening, sign, how it's happening, and the house is where it is happening. I think this is like really helpful in understanding how it all relates to one another. So now let's talk about the entrepreneurial placements. So I'm probably gonna go over like about like 5-10 minutes or so. No, excuse me. These are the placements I see often when I'm doing like readings, or when I'm like doing stuff like in the membership that I see like, wow, like when I see this, I'm like, you're probably meant to create like your own thing. Doesn't mean like you're never not gonna work like a corporate job or you're not working a corporate job and doing something else. Really life is not has never been black and white, and now like more so than ever before, it's about having options. It's about having autonomy in your finances, in your ability to understand, like, I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket. And just having more than one income or revenue stream, or knowing that, hey, I can freelance for this, or I can help my friend out with that, or hey, like, I have an Etsy business, or I can tutor, I can consult, I can make my art. Like, just having those options will allow you to feel a lot better in this ever changing economy and like job market that is like insane. Like this year is going to be like the creation of even more businesses, as people are just like, well, I can't find a job, or I don't want any of these jobs. They feel terrible. So let me create my own path forward. And my job here today and always is to help you feel expansive and confident and seen to do whatever you want to do, so that you have options. Always about options. So if you have any of these, and of course it's not exhaustive list, this is just going to be pushing you towards entrepreneurship, like creating your own thing, or at the very least, like working at a startup, having more autonomy at work and flexibility, which I do believe that the workforce is changing. Over the next like 20 years, it's going to be drastically changing. Because it has to. So I think it's going to be, even though it doesn't feel like it right now, it will become more flexible. It will be more, very much so, I believe, um, like it's moving towards like a gig economy, but very different. Like, I feel like the gig economy has like a negative connotation to it, but it's gonna be like, oh hey, like I'm like a speaker, I'm a writer, but I also like, like have like art that I create, or I give workshops. Like, it's going to be much more widely accepted in a way that I really truly feel exists in Los Angeles, but not in other places. Like, I remember in like DC, if you were doing more than one thing, it was like weird, unless you're like at the top of your game, like 20 years of experience. Like, yeah, I'm a politician and I also like am a writer and I'm a speaker. Like, it used to be reserved for people who are like higher up, but there's going to be, and it has happened, the democratization of being a multi hyphenate. And now, like living in Los Angeles, like if you don't do more than one thing, it's like weird. People are like, oh yeah, I'm like working to be an actor, but I also like teach yoga, but I also do this. And so making my move from DC to California was very interesting, because I'm just like, oh, I'm not weird anymore. I have all these interests. And I think that we should have all these interests, because like your job really sometimes unfortunately reflects like your identity, and you feel like it's part of your identity. That is changing too, but I do believe that you can be more than one thing, so why not let that reflect in the work that you do in your waking hours, right? I really, really believe that. Somebody says I have Scorpio Sun with Mars in Aries. The longest career that I had was a sleep tech where I mostly worked by myself. I love that. You're just like, I'm doing my job well. People let me do what I want to do. I can do it in the way that I know that's supposed to be done, but I'm also making it better. Okay. This is the important update that I really wanted to share. There's a big change coming. It's eclipse season in September. If you're curious about like really what this means, like I talk more about it in my membership. I'm going to continue talking about it over the next like 2 months or so. But a lot of these changes are going to naturally happen in September, because we have this like portal opening up, back to back new moons, and especially with eclipse season in September, it's going to bring about a lot of changes as it relates to career, your how you work, your daily routines, and for some people, moving to a new place. So it could look like starting a new job, new boss, a reorg at work, operational changes, AI agents. What I believe is happening over the next like acutely like 6 to 7 months is going to be like leadership and like the board of any company being like, how are we going to do the split? Humans versus like AI, like how much management is going to happen, like how much, like what are people going to be, what are humans going to be doing, and what are humans going to be managing, and how are they going to be managing all of these AI basically coworkers. And we're going to see a lot of announcements in September, not only about like, oh, like there's a reorg, or there's a new mission or vision, like we're doing things differently, but with that there's going to be a lot of tech companies being like, hello, we have this new AI agent for like customer service, and it's going to replace like a huge number of like people who are doing like manual customer service engagement. It could be like, hey, like there's a tech issue, or hey, like let's like help like like restyle like your wardrobe or things like that, or like, oh, like VA work, virtual assistant work. Like there might be like a company that comes up, it's like, hey, like your VA is going to be able to send emails, going to order like your Amazon stuff, refill like things that you need to get refilled in your office or in your home, stuff like that. That is really going to culminate in March, because like March will have a full moon in Virgo. So new moon, new beginning. Full moon's about culmination, manifestation, and like the completion of something. Also moving homes or cities, and a new mindset and mentality about like work life balance, and kind of like how much you want to be working like smarter and not harder. All right, friends. I think I've answered a bunch of questions already today, and we're like over time. I'm always like pretty mindful of time. So if you want to learn more, you know how to find me. I'm easy to find. You can reply to any of the emails that you get from me. You can join the membership, get your expanded report, book a reading. I'm here for you. I do these like monthly free sessions as well. So don't get nervous when I say these things. I'm actually trying to really be more direct and let like being less skirty around like what's happening and being more direct, because my job is to tell you like this is gonna happen. This is how you equip yourself, instead of you like when it comes to eclipse season or like the aftermath of eclipse season being like, wait, like why didn't she tell us this like earlier? This is my job. Okay, Norma says she wants to see the houses. Here you go. Like this one and this one. Let me know if you want me to toggle back. I'm trying to be a little bit more direct so that I can be a better steward, in helping you figure out what's next in your career. There's nothing to be nervous about. Fear and excitement are two sides of the same coin. These are necessary changes like we need to make. And I want to make sure that you feel ready. Yes, so much information. You're so welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Teresa, you just got fired. Congratulations. Congratulations. You're going to get a new job. If something new is coming your way, the first one. I just believe like the most important thing to remember, if you're in a hard place right now, you got laid off, you're just like, fuck, what do I do next? I want to like make sure that if I do get laid off in the future, like that there's something else that I can do. Like just believe in yourself. Just believe in yourself and things are going to be okay. If you believe that things are going to be okay, then they will. Savannah says, mainly whenever you say reorgs or layoffs, but in April I had a job opportunity come about and I got a promotion. So it can be good changes. Yes, it can be good changes too. So there is an email that I sent a couple weeks ago about like, it was a preview of eclipse season. It was like, what's going to happen reorgs? And I'm like, what to do. And it's really about like, this session is all about what to do. Understand your gifts and talents, work on the things that only humans can do, relationships, empathy, intuition, emotional regulation, and awareness and EQ. I know I have a lot to say about like the AI stuff that I'll talk more about like in my membership, but I think it is going to be better. I think it is going to be better, but it's going to be like a little dicey. Just because like change is hard and this type of change is like, you know, like really big. Jay Martin says, I'm about to get fired, not in a good place. I'm really sorry to hear that you're not feeling great about this. Of course, it's change and it's not your choice, but work on just making sure your like nervous system is regulated. You can DM me on Instagram or just reply to any of my emails. I love using this app Open. And I have a free 30-day thing that I can send you. At this rate, they should like really pay me. Like I refer people to this. I just love this app. I never use an app like this consistently. It's really, really helpful. So I'd say like just make sure that you feel good, and know that as long as you're feeling at the very least curious or optimistic, like good things are going to come your way. Yeah, this portal is going to be good about finding like your like next job, the next thing that you're going to do. The app is called Open. Just message like just email me and I'll send you a link for like free 30 days. Yeah, yeah, I'm happy to talk more. This is only just like a snippet of information and there's just so much